and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be using Maker Forte products to make a card. So to start with, I'm going to be using this stamp set with all these cute little critters on. So we've got a llama, a pig and a koala. There's also glasses and ties that you can add to these animals. I'm also going to be using these simple sayings. I've picked one out there, but I do change my mind a bit later. I'm going to foil that, but not with this pink foil. I changed my mind because I changed my mind on the colours of the animals. So I'm going to use my Misty and a piece of white stamping card. Placing that into the centre of my Misty. My original thought was to stamp the three animals that have got flowers on their heads in a row across this piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 cardstock. However, once I place them, there's the little piggy. Next I put the llama in the middle because he's the tallest. Once I got the llama in position, I realised there might not be enough room for all three, and I wanted to use all three because they all have matching flowered crowns. Do try and place the koala next to them, but without success. So changed my mind, turned the piece of card portrait and I staggered them across my cardstock. They fit perfectly this way. It did make me change my ideas for my sentiment at a later time, but we'll come to that later. So I get them all positioned, making sure that the card's stuck down with the little magnets, and then I bring in my ink, which I'm using Remarkable black ink. I pick the images up with the lid of the Misty, trying to keep my card in place. Remarkable ink is great because it's nice black ink that you can use with alcohol markers. I'm also going to use the smusher to make sure that I get an even cover of ink onto my cardstock. So just making sure that everything's stamped right there. I do realise that little pig's ear's not got enough ink on, so I put some more on there. Close up my Misty and use that great smusher. Gives even pressure right across the Misty lid. However, I do miss a little section of the llama, so I put it back down, a little bit more of a smush, and there you have it. My images are stamped perfectly, ready to be coloured. I'm not colouring them in this video because it would take too long. I use Copic markers. Right, we're moving on to the Simply Stated dies here that go with the simple sayings. So as you can see, this die will cut out all the sayings on the top. So I'm cutting the bottom half off so that I've got it to use at a later date. And I'm going to place the die over this. If you look, there's 4 little squares in the corners and 4 little squares on the die. This makes it easy to line up these sentiments when you get the die the right way up. Place it on, make sure you can see all the little squares, and I'm going to place that on my die cutting pads. First of all, I'm just going to hold it in place with some low tack tape so that it doesn't slip. With them being fine sentiments, we don't want them slipping and it cutting only half of the wording out. So I go and run that through my die cutter. Next, as you can see, here they come back, and they will all just gently push out of the die one by one. You can remove it off the back and do it that way, but it's just as easy just to push them all out with a fingernail. Perfectly die cut, nice centered images, all ready for not only this card but cards I make in the future. Last one to push out, and there you go. You can see all of them are perfectly cut and usable. Just going to turn them all over so that I can see what's on them all. I have a little pot that I store these in so that I can pick out what's needed when I make the cards. These are, the black is toner ink, so as I said earlier, they're perfect to be able to be foiled. Here's my images, all nicely coloured. The sentiment I wanted, because I'd now gone portrait, didn't quite fit, so I decided to go another route. So I'm sorting through. Some of these are spring related, and I didn't want it to be a spring card. I wanted it to be more of a summery card. So I'm just trying to find some that will fit better than the one I originally picked out. I decided in the end to go with one of the longer ones, as you can see here. That one was too long. That was the one that I originally wanted to use. So I decided to cut a little fishtail on one end. Making sure that I get my corners even. As you can see, a little bit uneven there, I'll come back to that, but I also want to snip off the other end as well. So again, just cutting them a bit more even. That fits better. And I want straight edge on there to fit along the straight edge of the card. But if you wait, you will see I changed my mind yet again. So next, I am deciding which foil to use. As I've coloured the flowers on the crowns in yellows and oranges, I decided to go with this sparkly orange foil. I cut a strip from it, gather some parchment paper. You can actually buy these from Maker Forte already folded for you. And I'm placing 2 strips in there because I haven't quite made my mind up which one I'm going to use. And make sure that I get them so that they're on the foil. In hindsight, I would have cut the foil a little bit wider. I was trying to be very frugal there because I've only got that one sheet of this particular foil. While my laminate's warming up, I'm going to make up my cards. So I'm using these A2 top folded card bases. This is my favourite way of folding a card. I love the top folded ones. I do use the side folded ones if I do a landscape card. I have also got some Stormy cardstock there that I'm going to use as a mat, which will pick up the grey that I've put in the koala and the llama. So making sure that my card's folded right, I'm using the Maker Forte bone folder. Gives a perfect crease across the top of your card. And I'm just using some wet glue now just to adhere my mat down. I like to make sure I have got plenty of glue on there because I don't want these to fall apart, which has happened in the past. So I also like a very narrow mat showing. So I tend to go for 1/8 rather than 1/4 of an inch. That's just my personal preference. Using wet glue means that you can easily have wiggle room to centre your images as well. So now I'm putting my gorgeous coloured images on. They are so cute. It's Grove Hill Farm stamp set is absolutely adorable. My daughter loves the rabbits that are on there. So I centre that up. Just look at a little piggy looking at us. Now my laminate is hot enough, it's indicated there. I do heat to 5mm. Now this laminator feeds from the back, and because the parchment paper is a lot floppier than the laminating pouches, I do struggle to get it in there. Hence the reason I'm turning it round, so that I can see where the rollers are and feed it through a bit easier. There you go, it's going in now. Foil is great for any card. You can use foil sentiment. With a laminator you can actually foil your stamps if you use clear embossing powder on them. I've also foiled die cuts that I've stamped embossing ink onto and then die cut. So taking them off there, and I realised that this one slipped a little bit in the parchment paper. Like I said, totally my fault because I was a bit frugal with the foil. One point I would like to make is I have some heat resistant tape that I use when I am using my mug press and heat press. That would hold these in place, but I don't know whether you would get an uneven surface on the foiling. I don't know whether it would affect the laminator. So I'm just waiting for them to pass through again. They got in straight away that time with no problems. And here they come. It's a very slow laminator is mine, but it does the job. So I'm just going to pull these out. You don't have to foil these sentiments, but with them being black they do look much better if they've got a pretty surface on. I'm just checking them there. Sorry, I'm a bit off camera there. I will be back in a second. So there you can see, just removing the foil from the letters. It hasn't stuck to them, it's just with them being fine, it doesn't tend to come away as easily as with a bigger image. So there you go, perfectly foiled sentiments ready for my card. I did think about putting 2 on the card, just because there's sentiments that go together. So I changed my mind and decided to put the fishtail on the outside rather than the inside. And then because I'd only got 2, it gave a bit of an odd space at the top. So I changed my mind and just decided to put the 1 on. Here I'm just applying some foam tape just to give my sentiment some dimension. I do like to have a little dimension on my cards. I don't like them to be super flat. So I just cut a little strip off the roll. Then I'm adding that to the sentiment. This foil goes great with those little orange flowers in the hat, in the crowns. It brings them out a lot better. Just remove the backing off there. Normally I would use a T-square to line up my sentiment, and I totally forgot, stuck it down. I thought, is it straight? But luckily I've managed to get it straight there with no problems. Card's still missing something. So I got the Maker's Magic in the crystal clear and decided I was going to add some shine to the little noses and the little eyes. You can see I'm just applying this over. With the precision tip you can get that perfectly in place. It will look cloudy when I first add it here, purely because it's a cloudy consistency until it dries. Once it's dry, it'll be nice and clear. I just do the eyes on the pig. And a little bit more there. I didn't quite get enough on his eyes. And the llama, I'm just going to do his nostrils. Tiny bits in there. If you don't manage to get this as even as you would like, you can actually go in, add a little bit more. And then I actually used one of the precision glue sticks just to smooth out the koala's nose. Tapping it does make it flatten out a little bit more. I just didn't want too much dimension. I wanted shine rather than dimension. So koala's nose still a bit on the lumpy side. So these are the precision glue sticks, and I'm just smoothing it over on his eyes and his nose. I'm not taking anything off. I'm just using it like a little paintbrush just to spread it out a little bit more. Piggy's the eyes weren't completely covered in it, so I did a bit more on there. And there you go. You can't actually see it in the video, but you will be able to see it on the images on my blog when I post them. Little bit more shine. Out come the crown jewels in the lemon. And I'm just going to add a few of these. So I get my picker. And I'm just adding a tiny bit of glue in the middle of the flowers. And my little gems to adhere to. So easy to pick these up with this picker. And they do stay in place when they hit the glue. So there you have it. A little bit of shine, a little bit of colouring, and there you have a simple card.